saying to yourself, damn, what is going on here?
This is bad. This is very bad.
Caitlin Clark is clearly a catalyst for a business that was, and let's be honest, Caitlin to some degree financially saved the WNBA. It was hemorrhaging money for years.
It's actually to drive revenue so we can give the players extra income opportunities. I had to actually educate the players. They're like, good, 75 million divided by 140.
The WNBA authorities at ESPN are clearly not holding back after dropping a bombshell on Caitlin Clark's new boss. It seems like they have a radar for Contra, always finding a way to stir things up, and now they're aiming for Clark's new coach. They simply can't handle the fact that the team is finally getting a coach who could actually improve things for the team.
End of the day, with her WNBA rookie season complete, let's see it. Most points by a point guard in a season in WNBA history. Most double-doubles by a rookie guard in WNBA history. Most points by a rookie in WNBA history. Most assists by a rookie in the history of the...
We've seen ESPN repeatedly pull this stunt where they cast doubt on Clark in an attempt to garner attention. Positive news? No. Doesn't attract as many views as negativity does. But now here's just one more reason to scoff at ESPN. It seems like they treat Clark and the Fever like an afterthought.
Anytime you're asked to return to a place that you helped build, you had a hand in building, it's special. So I certainly wasn't, thinking of this as an option at the point in my career where I am. But I'll say Mel Raines is a good recruiter. I'm going to have her help me with some free agents.
Because they're out here rather than commemorating something that might truly be a WNBA game changer, like Kelly Koff's return to the Indiana Fever. Fanning the flames. It's almost as if they have an allergy to optimism. Wouldn't they take a moment to realize that Koff is essentially the team's architect? Come on, she's not just a rookie working her way into the position. She built the Fever from scratch from 2000 to 2018, including that 2012 championship win. But no ESPN would rather play the question of whether she is truly qualified for the position. A card like her entire legacy isn't enough to allay any doubts. So let's cut through the ESPN nonsense and get to the facts. It's almost funny how they're attempting to cast doubt on Kelly Kopp's reputation when, in fact, she is the driving force behind this team's success. Her return to the Indiana Fever is not the dramatic story they're trying to tell. ESPN's assertion that she is somehow out of touch after 6 years away is as reasonable as claiming that you lose your bike skills if you haven't used one in a long time. Instead of lounging on her sofa, Kelly has been immersed in the NBA trenches with the Indiana Pacers, learning everything there is to know about roster management, contracts, and game strategy. You might think she has lost her edge, but she has actually honed it.
Negotiated the WNBA's...
Now, let's talk about her time with the Fever. She not only helped the team survive, but she also made them thrive. We're talking about multiple playoff runs and a 2012 championship win under her leadership, which is not just a resume boost. That's legendary status. Of course, ESPN brushes that off as if it doesn't matter because positive stories don't sell, as well as stirring the pot. Their argument that Krauskopf might not be the right fit right now is absurd. If anything, her NBA experience has given her even more tools to her already stacked arsenal. It's like leveling up in a video game. She's bringing all the skills she learned with the Pacers to the WNBA, and ESPN acts as though none of it matters.
The scale and ultimately expansion had always been on my list, but we didn't want to rush into it because we wanted new owners, like new ownership groups. Anyone who knows sports here knows, it's a slog to be a...
Caitlin Clark should now be included. The young, dynamic player who is ready to take the lead is finally with the Fever, and who better to assemble a championship-caliber squad around her than the woman who accomplished that with Tama Catchings? ESPN is attempting to portray the return of the Krauskopfs as a gamble, but it's actually the ideal combination. One of the game's top basketball players is paired with one of the most exciting athletes.
Caitlin Clark is the reason why a lot of great things is going to happen for the...
This is about creating the groundwork for an entirely new era of dominance, not just about covering a void. Clark has what it takes to build a successful squad around a superstar. She's done it before and is more than prepared to do it again. But here's the thing. She has the leadership, star power, and Koff. ESPN is obsessed about drama, so they're ignoring the true story, which is that Koff's NBA experience has given her a completely different viewpoint on topics like contracts. You would believe she's returning to the Fever the same way she was before, but she has even more knowledge to use now, and she's prepared to turn that team around. ESPN simply refuses to acknowledge that they might be mistaken about her because, let's not forget, there is no drama involved. She is exactly what the Fever needs to become a powerhouse once more. She has a plan, the experience, and now Caitlin Clark to build around. That should tell you everything. Mel Raines, president and CEO of Pacers Sports and Entertainment, practically begged her to return.
I'm upset about. It's like, hey man, your meal ticket is under constant attack. There's been dirty plays all.
However, rather than discussing the incredible potential this offers the team they are more interested in, ESPN is behaving as like they have totally missed the plot with Krauskopf's return to the Indiana Fever. It seems as though they are deliberately downplaying the fact that Caitlin Clark is emerging as a significant force in the WNBA in order to stir up some controversy. To be honest, Clark's influence alone is enough to cause a stir, and Kelly is the ideal candidate to capitalize on it and transform the craze into a true powerhouse.
Player in Caitlin Clark and Leah Boston, and we're going to continue to add to that. But I want this team to be the leader in the country, and a brand, an enduring brand, like Apple or something. I mean, we have a real opportunity here. So I think that's a goal for.
But does ESPN really care? Of course not. They would much prefer discuss anything other than the actual events leading up to the Fever's major rebuild under a visionary leader. Let's take a closer look. Kelly Krauskopf isn't fooling around. She has made it very apparent that Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, and Kelsey Mitchell are the cornerstones of her Fever rebuilding strategy. Let's face it, this trio isn't just a strong one. They are the nucleus of a WNBA super squad. Caitlin Clark's spectacular, game-changing style has already made her a household name.
Fever, talking about what Caitlin Clark did last night or Aaliyah Boston. I mean, I feel like we've all sort of it's here. We can have that conversation, and I don't have to describe what the Fever is. I spent 10, 12 years, people go, what's that logo? What does that mean? And I'm like, what does Fever mean? But that's what you do. That's how you grow.
This is the kind of core that any general manager would hope to build around. Aaliyah Boston, a rising star who is dominating as one of the team's best frontcourt players, and Kelsey Mitchell, a dependable veteran who has been with the team for 7 years. However, rather than celebrating that, ESPN would rather bring up some old lore regarding Kelly's time away from the WNBA.
I tell you, I know exactly what her future looks like. She's a part of our team right now, and she's an important part of the team. So she's a tremendous talent.
During her press conference, Kelly was laser-focused on the future and about creating a winning culture rather than reliving the glory days. She is aware that the success of the club and the development of Clark and Boston depend on having a system that will provide these young stars with the framework they require to thrive.
I mean, I'll start with Kelsey Mitchell. She was a player that was drafted in the last group that I was part of. So Pokey Chapman was our coach and GM. I went to see Kelsey play at USA Basketball in Santa Barbara at one of their workout camps, and I called Pokey and I said, I'm watching our draft pick right now. I mean, she's.
While ESPN is busy doubting Kelly, they are completely ignoring her strategic brilliance. It's almost as if they are afraid to acknowledge that Kelly's return could be the best thing that has happened to the Fever in years. However, ESPN is conveniently ignoring this entire strategy, acting as though Kelly is just dusting off old playbooks when she is actually setting the Fever up for long-term success.
DNA, and you love the game and you love to compete, then you're going to be a great fit, with this team, because we're about winning. I mean, this is a winning franchise. We've had constant success of winning and being in the playoffs, and my plan is to return us to that level of consistency, and that takes commitment. That takes players that really are invested in being. But
this isn't about quick cures. Krauskopf is thinking long-term and is astute enough to see that assembling a cohesive, veteran team that works well together is more important for success than simply having a few youthful stars. Kelly is ensuring that Caitlin and Aaliyah have the right veterans in their lives to direct their growth, because they are the future. Anyone with sight can see that Kelly's strategy is exactly what the Fever needs right now, even if ESPN keeps attempting to stir things up.
It took a long time for teams that I've had to gel and to get together. I mean, years. It doesn't happen in 4 months. It takes a few years. So I was really impressed with the progress that they made and how, Christy is a resilient leader. She's a culture builder.
And let's just take a moment to admit that ESPN is truly missing the boat when it comes to Christy's side of the story. Come on. The woman led the Indiana Fever through some major upheaval despite having a first season that could only be described as a wild ride.
She's got that kind of, stamina to stick to it and stick to her plan. And she's a good person and she's a great leader. And
However, ESPN is too preoccupied with raising questions and attempting to spark controversy to give her credit. Isn't that right? Christy took on this head coaching position with a young, inexperienced team, and while things weren't perfect, when are they ever in a first season? What ESPN doesn't highlight, though, is the tenacity and grit she brought to the table and how she managed to keep the team together through all the setbacks. That's something to be proud of.
Early in the season, and the way that they weathered the storm, got into a groove, after the Olympic break. I think she finished 18-12, after those first 10 games, and then, of course, went 7-4 in the last 11, and 3 of those losses were against teams in the finals. So for a young team to make that kind of progress, it's hard to...
Furthermore, the Fever didn't simply go away. After all the ups and downs, Christy's squad ended the season with a 74 run, which includes 7 victories in the final 11 games. This is no small accomplishment for a first-time head coach. But does ESPN care about this turnaround? Nope. It seems like they're too busy looking for something negative to say rather than recognizing the progress that was evidently taking place on the court. Christy's leadership was evident in those final games, demonstrating that she has what it takes to succeed in the WNBA.
Done this long enough where not every player is happy at the end of the season, and you don't panic, you don't react, you just stay the course. And, my job is to make sure we put the best team we can on the floor.
However, it is well known that even the most successful coaches require strong leadership from above in order to succeed. This is where Kelly's experience is crucial in helping Christy transform this team into a serious contender. But ESPN is unable to comprehend that Krauskopf's mentoring is the key to releasing Christ's full coaching potential.
And I'll